Welcome to Work in Progress, Conversations with Creators. I'm your host, Logan Royce Beitman. On today's program today, I have with me Madison Van Der Lingen. She's a friend of mine. She's also a really great fashion designer. And we had a really lively, engaging conversation about fashion in Albuquerque. And if you're someone who's new to fashion, who thinks fashion isn't for you, she has some tips on how you might get started. So I hope that you enjoy.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Hey, Madison, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's great having you here. So, I think you're the first real fashion designer I've had on the show. Well, we had our mutual friend, Jess Sheeran. She does kind of costume design. She's done a few fashion shows with you, but, this is like your thing. You're a fashion designer. And I'm hoping to get some more New Mexico designers on in the future. We're working on it. But, you're one of the great ones here, I think. And I guess, let's start just with an upcoming project you're working on, because you started something called Albuquerque Fashion Week. Maybe you can give a little background on that and then tell us about the show that you have planned.
Yeah, so the one that we're working on currently is happening October 16th at the Historic Wheels Museum downtown. And it's just one night. It's called Nocturnal Flame. It's fire themed, so we're going to have some fire dancers, trying to get some fire breathers. And it's more of a dark, kind of elegant vibe this time, whereas opposed last year we had Night Aquatic and it was very whimsical and fun. So we're just, we do these themed shows that have a very specific aesthetic, and we see how the designers are inspired through these specific themes.
And they're kind of relating to the seasons in some way.
Yeah,
maybe.
Actually, funny enough, the elemental thing that is implemented kind of goes with each year. So this year is Year of the Fire Horse. So that's kind of why we're doing the fire show this year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So who are some of the designers that are going to be in this? Are you still working on the
We're
list?
locking down that list, but so far we have Joe's Bows.
Uh-huh.
You guys have probably seen him at the farmer's market every Saturday. The growers market, he sells bow ties, bespoke menswear. I think you have a bow tie from him.
I have one that I don't. Did I wear it when I went to the opera with? No, I went to the opera with you. So Madison and I are friends. I don't always have friends on the show, but I think it's nice that I get to have you on, especially since you're going to be leaving in a couple months. So I'm happy that we get to have this time together. But we went to the opera, and I was wearing a pre-tied bow tie
from Men's Warehouse.
from Men's Wear.
No shade to Men's Warehouse, but
yeah, it's fine. But anyway, and it came with the tux or whatever. And so then you posted a photo of us, and Joe from Joe's Bows responded to you and was I see he's wearing a bow tie that's not mine. I'm like, oh my God. Because I know him and I go
he's
to
got the
shop
monopoly
all the time. And anyway, and then I thought, well, I should. But the reason I didn't get one before is I didn't know how to tie one. So he showed me, he taught me. So now I'm a real adult who can tie my own bow tie.
Yay.
And I think that is a mark of something, And now he's making another one for me because my brother is getting married next week. I'm going to be it'll be probably last week when this comes out. But the first week of September, my brother's getting married in Pennsylvania and I'm officiating. And so he's making me a special bow tie, and you're making me some headgear as well for the wedding.
Headgear. I'm making him a specialized turban or head wrap of sorts.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't look insane.
We'll see what it, but I think it'll go with the kilt that I'm also going to be wearing.
Yeah, this outfit is getting more and more unhinged by the moment. But
so since we're talking about unhinged fashion, let me ask you, and then we'll get back to the thing we were talking about with the Albuquerque Fashion Week. But what is it that makes something fashionable? Because I feel like something can be the height of fashion one year, a couple years later, it's ew, no one wants to be seen in it.
Ugh,
right?
disgusting. I would never be seen in skinny jeans ever
even
again.
sometimes, right, exactly. And then skinny jeans, I guess they're supposed to be coming back now, but it's like things go in and out. But then also sometimes, like when someone does something very new, it might look really wrong. And, how do you kind of define that? Like how does something, like, I guess if you're doing the same thing all the time, it's very boring. Like I'm wearing this, very boring blue shirt.
It's cerulean. Yeah, I think there's like a specific group of people that like are like the taste, people of this world, right? They find something that could be extremely jarring to some people and they just decide like this is something.
Yeah.
And at first people are like angry about it sometimes,
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, I would never wear a 5-finger toe shoe. But then like, other people are like, wait a minute, maybe there's something to this. And then it starts trending. And then once it feels like safe to dip your foot into that like weird territory, then it explodes, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that's like how trends work. So I do think there's like this few people scattered out into the world that just like make these decisions. And it's like really great for society. But I don't know, like the really specific weird fashion pieces is where I love.
Right.
Because it's just like exploratory and bizarre and I don't know.
Well, because I feel like you're a tastemaker yourself, and you're certainly always pushing the boundaries with the kind of clothes that you make, and and it's like sometimes people do something on a runway that. Some of the stuff maybe is never meant to be worn, but it could be to certain occasions. But you're making stuff. It may catch on and create a trend, or it may not. But it's still like a great piece of art, maybe. That you could still, whether it catches on or not, it could still. You could wear it now. You could wear it in 10 years. It would still be just as provocative or interesting, maybe.
A timeless piece.
Timeless piece of but I think specifically talking about kind of the stuff that you're doing where you'll kind of put patterns and colors together that to the untrained eye may appear to clash.
Yeah.
but there's like something like barely holds together, but but you do harmonize it. It comes there's something to that kind of like that. Tell me if I'm doing a good job of explaining some of what you do, or you could probably say it better. But I feel like you kind of do this thing where you're kind of walking on the edge of like almost being wrong, like really wrong, but it's right. And I think it's hard to do that because I think some people can try that and it's just wrong.
Yep, definitely. I think there's like a lot of mental gymnastics when doing that type of work because you're like, this is either going to be perceived in like so cutting edge, so like funny. I don't know, like in my work I try to go like the funny route sometimes. But and then sometimes it just does not land and people are like, what the frick is that? But then sometimes people are like, oh my God, I want 30 boob scarves sent to my Cleveland house right now. And it's like, what? Like, why is that? There's been pieces where I would just like, make something and I'm like, this is just like for shits and giggles. And then people, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay. And then people are like, wow. And I'm like, I did not expect that. And then something that I work like months on that I'm like, this is the pièce de résistance. And they're just like, okay.
See, that's something, that I think is universal for creators. I have a lot of people on the show, whether they're filmmakers, writers. I experienced myself as a writer, visual artist, fashion, that sometimes things come really easily and you almost don't trust it because it's just came so quickly. And then sometimes you work and work and work, maybe for years, and the thing never really turns out. And I don't know. I think everyone I've talked to has had this experience. And so I think if you could figure out what it is that makes a creative project easy, and bottle that, everyone would want it.
Yeah. There's like a creative ether, right? And then like sometimes something will come through and then you're just
Yeah.
like, it is like whoosh. But then sometimes I feel like those ideas come to other people too. And then you're like, wait a minute, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Have you had that happen? That you made something that
yeah.
you thought was totally fresh and original, and then you saw like, oh, someone had
Yeah.
done it a couple years ago?
No, like years after.
Oh, after.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's really hard to have like original ideas nowadays with like
Yeah.
trends and like there's like so many like other elements that are like infiltrating your brain that are also infiltrating other people's brains, right?
Yeah.
And so like these ideas can come to you in like similar times. I don't know, it's pretty weird.
I think that makes sense. That stuff is just kind of in the air, you know. You're all being influenced by the same thing. It's not that someone's necessarily copying you.
Yeah.
Although that happens too, I think, in fashion, you know. Um, but you know, I know you've said before that you really love designing. That's like kind of your passion. But you know, because you were here in Albuquerque and there wasn't a lot of now I think actually there's more fashion shows and things happening. But when you because you had moved here from Taos and it seemed like there wasn't too much kind of happening fashion wise, so you felt like, well, if no one else is doing it, I have to make something. So you created, but you said you don't love organizing and doing that kind of side of things.
It's difficult organizing artists, like, because I'm an artist. I know I drag my feet with like signing paperwork and
Yeah.
like all the red tape. So it can be frustrating. It has its like challenges. Yeah, and designing is just me and my work, and so like it's just me that I'm relying on.
Yeah.
But there is like a lot of beauty in like producing stuff because then a lot of people get involved, a lot of collaborations
Yeah.
come into play, and there is some magic within it.
Yeah, and you do a good job. I mean, I went to I guess I've gone to a few fashion shows that you've participated in, several. I don't know how many, maybe 5 or 6. But I've also like I went to Night Aquatic, which you organized or co-organized. You were like maybe the lead organizer, I think. And it was beautiful. Like went very smoothly. And not to speak ill of anyone, but I've been to some other fashion shows where, like, there's like one collection goes on, and then there's like a 15-minute pause, and everyone's like, oh, what? And then like the next people go. So I just think it's like some people might be they might have a really good eye for fashion and be able to select great designers to do a show together. But then there's more to it to like have it run smoothly. It's
Yeah.
the event production, I think, is a different skill, and for better or worse, I think you're good at it.
I think maybe that's like due to like my background in theater and film. Like I'm just like everything has to run very efficiently or else I lose my mind.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of been like drilled into me maybe. I don't know. I like running a tight ship backstage, and I don't know. UNM, they teach like when you're in the theater program that you have to take like stage management classes, you
Yeah.
have to take lighting classes, you have to take it all. So like you kind of have to like understand the full scope of like a production. So it is fun.
And that's kind of where you got your start, right? Like that you were doing costumes for stage productions and then for film and TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And which seems like, because especially the film and TV industry used to be huge here, and maybe it will be again. It kind of has its ebbs and flows. But because of that, I think there were and there's a lot of great theater as well, local, many different theater companies here. So there's a lot of opportunities if you're interested in costumes, you can have that opportunity. And so it does seem like I know of several fashion designers here who kind of got their start that way.
Yeah.
Then what made you want to pivot and do from costumes to fashion?
That's a good question. I think when I was like in film and theater, I wasn't like fully able to like fully express myself because I was just always like making something for someone else, because a lot of like the designers that you see in like film are usually coming from like Atlanta or LA. it's very rare to see a designer in New Mexico working in the film industry. It's typically like, the wardrobe supervisor, the shoppers, the costumers, they're all from Albuquerque
Yeah.
or New Mexico. But like above the line is typically coming from somewhere else. So like a lot of creative input was like hard. So I just kind of needed like another creative outlet where I could just make whatever I wanted. And so it just kind of came naturally that way. I was like, I'm just going to make weird stuff and put it on pretty people. And yeah.
I think that's interesting because it's kind of like if you had had better opportunities for advancement in the film and TV industry here, you might still be kind of stuck in that. I mean, you might have a successful career doing that, but you wouldn't be the fashion designer you are today.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of like, what do they say, like a blessing in disguise or, whatever, silver lining or...
But I don't know. There's other elements of the film industry that just didn't like work with me and who I am.
Well, you were on that film Rust where someone died.
Yeah. I had just like a lot of really weird experiences in the film industry. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm making a lot of money in this industry, but it's just not for me. I'm not wanting to work 14-hour days.
Was that the last one that you did, was Rust?
Well, I've worked on like a lot of other ones past that, but it was like through So Whatever. So we were like just not on set. We were just building stuff like off site, kind of as like a vendor.
And I don't mean to laugh at it. It's just we've talked about it before, and I think it was I think a very traumatizing thing for you. But I think it's like you have experiences like that coupled with all the long hours and everything else, and you think, oh, I don't know, is it even worth all the stress? I guess but I think it's exciting. I mean, you're doing such great work now. So let me let you talk a little bit more about the Albuquerque Fashion Week event coming up, because we just kind of touched on it and then got sidetracked.
Derailed.
So what else do you want people to know about it? Or you can talk about Albuquerque Fashion Week in general as an idea.
Yeah. So this year we're doing it at Wheels.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about Wheels, but it is a really cool museum downtown that talks about the history of like the railway, just like all these different automobiles concerning wheels. They have like historic, I guess not historic, but like really iconic pieces from like film. Like they have the Breaking Bad car, they have all this stuff, and it's all jam-packed into this museum.
Lowriders?
I don't know if they have lowriders, actually. They do have like a...
Well, they should. I guess I haven't been to the...
They have a full train.
I'm admitting now I haven't been to the Wheels Museum
yet.
You need
to go.
I need to go.
They have a full train that you can like ride inside the Wheels Museum that like blows bubbles. So we're bringing in, I guess in like previous years that we've like produced shows under Albuquerque Fashion Week, we haven't really had like too much of a educational element. So we're using that like first hour this year of the mixer to be like educational. We're activating multiple like rooms in the Wheels Museum and like pairing it with like a specific designer. And that idea is curated by Jakia Fuller, who is one of our newest members of Albuquerque Fashion Week. So she's going to be working on that curational element. And then Serena is going to, and one of our other new members is kind of going into like the cultural relevance of like railways in New Mexico concerning like displacement of indigenous people and how that can kind of tie in with like fashion and the history of fashion. So I'm really excited to see like how that comes across. Because in the past, like the educational element for Albuquerque Fashion Week has been like primarily on how to run a production. Like Mama Coco, Bruja Beauty, she has like done videos about how to keep your like station sanitized for makeup artists backstage. And then we did like a whole educational video about how to do like a wet look hairstyle at Adora Bella Beauty School, because we were like prepping all the hairstylists for Night Aquatic. Everyone had to have wet looking hair.
Right.
So like that's kind of been the educational side in previous seasons, and now we're going into like a more historical educational side.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you in general what you think about, because I think there are people who aren't that involved in fashion. When they think about high fashion, they think it's something frivolous. Maybe that's a stereotype that some people have, and but fashion can also be like any form of art, that it can provoke thoughts. It can make you think about history, for instance, or other, so, yeah, how would you kind of talk about that side of fashion?
High fashion. And yeah, maybe I would say that like it's another form of investment, like people who invest in art, people who invest in like designer or very like avant-garde pieces could be like a different way of like, instead of like buying land, they're buying a Birkin bag or something. Same price, but
Yeah.
the value can like fluctuate. I don't know. I'm not like a collector of like a lot of designers. I will
Sure.
collect designer if it's like specific to my interests.
Yeah. But I guess what I was getting at was less like the monetary value and more like the cultural
Significant.
value, or intellectual. But I think that's the thing, is I think some people don't think that fashion could be intellectual or emotional or other, like that it. But I think, like, for me, I see it, people who are really great designers are every bit artists as much as any other artist, and doing all the stuff conceptually, emotionally, everything that art can do. Um, you're artists as well, and maybe that's kind of what I was getting at. And I don't know if you agree, but I mean, would you make a distinction between um, fashion, like people who are designing fashion versus people who are making clothes? Is there a difference, or is it all the same?
Yeah, there's definitely a distinction because it's crazy because we were actually talking about this at So Whatever. Like there's different schools that you can go to, right? Like there's colleges that are specifically putting you in this line of like manufacturing for like Adidas or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is how you're going to do things. But then like there's other schools that are like more on the like cutting edge, like you are here to break boundaries, right? And I don't know. Are you like more logistical? You want to make money? You want to do like go down that pathway of like manufacturing and technical skill? Like, I mean, there's a lot of skill in technical work
Yeah.
that can translate into the more like creative, beautiful side. And I think like harvesting both of these elements is so powerful too. But yeah, there is a distinction. And then like some of these like really creative people that just want to like make art but they don't have these technical skills that can get kind of like, sometimes you can't fully like grasp what they're talking about in their art when they don't have these technical skills, because you're like, okay, I see where you're headed, but like it's not fully fleshed out to the untrained eye.
Yeah.
So, because like we see clothes every day and we see like finished clothing, and it's kind of hard to do a fully like finished, perfect, like even what you're wearing, this button-up shirt
Yeah.
would take a while to make. There's like a lot of elements that go into like finishing a garment.
Right.
So, and then some
But then it should be like tailored more to me and stuff. I mean, it's not. It's this is just off the rack.
casual, yeah.
Let me ask you about that. Every time you step out of your home and go into the world, do you think about what you're wearing, or do you sometimes just put on whatever is laying around?
No, I always make a conscious decision to what I'm wearing.
And do you think that that's something like because I just read a article in the I think it was the New York Times style section that was called why does Gen Z dress like they've never worn clothes before? And it's it had some photos of certain outfits where it might be like a shirt like this with some shorts and like some ugly shoes and a hat that doesn't match, just like whatever, just
The
random.
Adam Sandler
It just kind of
style.
seems like you just picked up whatever's on your floor.
Yeah.
But like
Sometimes it works.
sometimes that could work too, I guess. I mean, that's the thing. Like when we were talking earlier about that line between seeming wrong and what's wrong, what's right. I think there's maybe no rules in fashion, but yet I don't know. You probably I don't know. Do you judge people when you based on how they dress when you see them out in the
Not at
in the world?
Walmart, yes.
Yeah,
When I just see everybody in their pajamas, I'm like, get me out of here.
because that's the thing is people just put on whatever to go to Walmart. They think it's not a fancy place. It's maybe late at night. No one's going to see me. But there was a website that used to be exist
To
called
take
the
pictures.
People of Walmart. I don't think it still exists, but people would photograph all these ridiculous outfits that.
There's this new Instagram page where this
uh,
guy like just films people in slow motion, like walking through Walmart.
Yeah.
It's just like really strange.
So I mean, but let me ask, like,
But the disheveled, like
yeah, the disheveled look.
Gen Z look, sometimes I feel like it's intentionally disheveled because
Yeah.
maybe, these people are like doing some sort of work where it could be seeming as like, why are you caring about fashion when you're doing this? Like, and so maybe they're intentionally trying to look like they don't care about fashion because of like maybe they're like in some sort of like activism or,
Yeah.
like where it's like fashion maybe isn't as important in that moment, but I think it really is. It matters because that's how people perceive you.
Right. Well, and even like I think was it like 15 years ago or something? There was this trend called normcore where people dress like this.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That it was like you dress like you're an extra on Seinfeld or something, like just a shirt like this, maybe khaki pants, just like boring kind
Blend
of
in.
stuff you might buy at Walmart,
Yeah.
and that was a kind of rebellion against trying to look super original and let's just like maybe just normcore is cool, and that was like a trend for a while.
Well, and then there's like the whole like quiet luxury thing too,
And that's a different thing.
where
Yeah.
it's very subtle, but you're like, I'm just wearing a white t-shirt, but this is a $500 Balenciaga white t-shirt and nobody
Yeah.
knows that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a weird thing too. I don't really know about all that. But
And that I think got a lot of attention with the that show Succession. People talked about that because they're like these super rich people and they were dressed kind of conservatively, but just like um, but in it's like looks refined, but so that's actually an interesting distinction within fashion because I feel like there are certain fashion houses, certain designers that really go for this kind of quiet luxury. I don't know if you'd put like Chanel in that category or but like kind of like old school, kind of like it looks very elegant and refined. And then there's others like I don't know, Alexander McQueen, or that it's like kind of let's do something a little bit, outrageous or different, or and that seems like it's always been a tension for quite a long time within fashion.
yeah, gives you options if you're an elite rich person. You could either look really insane or really posh. Or not like the tech billionaires that just wear crap.
Yeah, they're so annoying, right? Because you'd think they should be supporting. They have the money. They should be supporting the arts, and they really don't. They collect comic books and stuff, which is also art. I'm just sorry, I don't mean to offend
Sorry
people,
to the comic book
but
artists.
they're not necessarily like giving a lot of money to museums or
the
spending
arts,
much
yeah.
on really innovative fashion necessarily. Some of them are, I think, but it's a little bit different anyway. But it seems like you're more interested in doing something interesting and original. But you mentioned rich people, and that's kind of we've been dancing around it, but that's also a common idea that fashion is for rich people. Do you believe that, or do you believe that
No.
So how can I be fashionable? How can people listening express themselves with clothes, or be part of the fashion world if they don't have much money?
Well, you can make your own clothes. You can learn to make your own clothes. You can thrift. Thrifting is like the coolest thing in the universe because if you have the eye, then you can find the craziest things in thrift stores that just are so unique, so valuable that someone just decided not to like anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think like culturally, like fashion comes from the underground. It doesn't come from the rich people. The rich people
Yeah.
copy it to try to like look like they have some swag.
Yeah. And I mean, does that like where do you get? And it's such a stupid question. Where do you get your inspiration? But you talked about kind of things coming from the underground. I mean, do you feel like, you're getting, just I don't know, through your friends or people that you see around Albuquerque, or I mean, I'm sure you're also looking at all the kind of runway shows and fashion magazines and all that as well.
Yeah, I feel like inspiration comes from like a lot of different things, architecture, art in
Yeah,
general. I don't know. I don't
like
find like
not always from clothes.
yeah. Because then you kind of get stuck in it in the rift of it all.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. You made one thing, and I think we may only have time for a little bit more, but um, you had a piece that I know you showed at that Meow Wolf show in Denver. Um, I think you also had like a kind of alien head that exploded. But the piece, can you describe it? That it was sort of had like these sort of, uh, it was a very like structured garment, like kind of three-dimensional sculptural, with like you describe it because it had this fringe that was sort of like,
Chartreuse.
yeah, and it was like these long kind of ropey fringe that you might see like an old like Victorian lamp or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that fringe is very more like for furniture, but the fact that it was that color, it was like a neon chartreuse, was so bizarre. I found that at Savers, like a full bolt
Oh
of it.
wow.
Someone just got rid of it, and I was like, hell yeah, this is going on everything. I don't know what they were originally going to use it for, but and then the textile itself, it was like a textile I made without all my scrap fabrics that I just like cut up and sandwiched in between a sheer layer of chiffon and a quilter's cotton, and I sewed lines to keep it all encased, so it looked very like three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And
Really an amazing piece. And I think with our time remaining, I'm just going to ask one more question, which kind of relates to all this that we're talking about, and thinking especially about people that might be watching this who, I think a lot of people are afraid of fashion. People who aren't immersed in the world or who think it's kind of not for them in some way. And you're saying it's for everyone. You can go to Savers, you can make your own clothes. But if you're not really, used to it and you want to express yourself, um, how do you become so brave and courageous in what you do? And is that something that like can anyone be that free and that courageous in the way they dress, or how do you kind of develop your own taste? It's a tough question, I guess, but you know kind of what I'm saying. Like
yeah,
especially someone who might be kind of afraid of fashion, how do you kind of get over that fear and
go out into the world.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to like release your inhibitions if you want to be like fully authentic, right? There's always like, okay, someone's going to hate this, but whatever. Why take it seriously? It's just clothes. Just like at the end of the day, no one's going to be so angry unless you're like naked.
Uh-huh.
But developing, like if you are very much at like you don't know how you're developing your style, I would like ask your most fashionable friends to help you.
Oh yeah.
Like, Aaron Mancha, he does the Video Wizards.
Yeah.
He asked Kimberly and I if like we could help like thrift his Burning Man looks last year, because he was going to Burning Man and he wanted to explore like kind of androgynous, very apocalyptic style, and we were
Yeah.
just there like pulling stuff and seeing what like resonated with him, and I think he like really had fun, and like I had fun, and also just like dressing someone else is just so fun. But I feel like that is like dipping your toe into like playing and like navigating a thrift store, because that's a whole like art within itself.
Yeah.
If you're new to it, like you don't know where to start, there's so much shit to shift through.
Uh-huh.
But if you just find a thrifter and just go with them and be like, where do I start?
Yeah.
What do I want? What do I like?
And I guess if you don't have any fashionable friends, there's actually quite a
Hire a
bit.
stylist.
You can hire a stylist if you don't have that money. You can also go. I mean, there's a lot of fashion events happening now. And I just went to one at the Route 66 Center here that was free. Anyone could show up. There's things like that are happening that are for the community. So I'd say, just get plugged in and see what's happening, right?
Yeah. And then slowly Albuquerque will develop into a more fashionable place.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I've really enjoyed having you here.
Yippee! Thank you. Thank you for having me.